Hello everybody! Today I'm doing a recycle guide for the zombie cards. I'll probably do one for the plant cards later on. I'm doing this video mostly because I looked in YouTube and I couldn't find a recycle guide. I know there are recycle guides outside of YouTube, but since there isn't one in YouTube, I decided to make one of my own. Also, this recycle guide is entirely my opinion. I'm not looking at any other recycle guides, so if you disagree with any of my decisions, you can let me know. And without further ado, I'm using this tier list format because it's easy to understand, and that's about it. So before we actually put any of the other cards, I'm gonna go here and do this. Okay, without further ado, I'm just gonna go in no specific order and just grabbing things from down here. So let's get to it. 50-50 for this one. It's not something you really need when you're starting on, so up to you, I suppose. Like, it's not terrible, but it's also not amazing. I guess this one is also up to you. Bounty Hunter is always a keep. It's very good stats for its cost, and it has a pretty good ability. I would say probably recycle. Like, if you need some scraps, this card isn't that amazing, so it's up to you, honestly. I would say probably recycle. It requires some synergies to work, but if you can get a couple of those cards, I would say it's pretty good. But since it needs, specific cards to work, I would say that if you don't have them, I would say probably recycle it. It's a very good early play, so just keep it. Always keep it. Amazing card. Up to you, honestly. Like, if you don't have any other good cheap removal, this is alright, I guess. But if you don't really need it, then it's up to you. It's probably recycle, not incredible or anything. You probably don't need it unless you don't have a lot of cards, in which case the conjure might be nice, but there are better conjure cards, so I would say you probably recycle it. It's a keep. It's a fairly good aggro card that gives you a not very good card, but it gives you a card, so it's basically a free card. I would say probably recycle. Like, it's not great, but if you don't have many good beat sticks, then it's fine, I guess. Like, there are better cards, but I wouldn't say it's an almost always recycle, because this series for like cards you want to recycle 99% of the time. Also a 50-50, like, you can do some funny synergies, but most of the time this just gets very blasted or banana bombed or removed in some other way, so it's not amazing. It's more for gimmicky decks, so up to you. This one is always a keep. Very good removal, solid card. This is between 50-50 or keep. Since I'm indecisive, I would say 50-50. Like, if you really need something else and you don't really like how it sounds, you can recycle it, but it's a legendary and you don't really get that many scraps for a legendary, so I would say keep it, but it's it's up to you. Like, it's not a legendary that will win you the game most of the time. This is one of the rares that I will put here. Probably recycle, because like the ability is not that useful and it has bad stats and etc. It's not amazing. This one, I would say in 50-50 really. Like, it's a good card, but there are better options. It's like, if you keep it, it's because you're gonna use it. Otherwise, you might as well recycle it, especially since it's an event card and you can get it for free again when it comes back. So I would say it's always a keep, because even if your deck doesn't really play around it, it's just a 1/1 buff for any card, and if your opponent plays a plant in any other lane, it just buffs it. So pretty good. Goes in almost always recycle. Pretty trash card. Pretty simple. I don't think I need to explain anymore. Honestly, I'm gonna put it here because cards always get hard removed, and at least with Dipsy card you get better stats. With this one, like, if it kills something, it's gonna conjure you a card, but like, I don't know. This two could be in either tier, to be honest. It's a great card, to be honest. I would say keep it. Like, it's pretty underrated. This can beat you a game in a tight spot, even if you give it to a 1/1 zombie. I think you should keep it because it's a legendary and a fairly okay one. The healing that this does is pretty underrated, to be honest. Like, again, with all of the Gargs, they get removed very easily, but if you can make it work, it's very good. This one is probably a recycle. Like, it's a legendary, sure, and it has good stats, but it's just very, very slow. Like, at Listener's Guard gives you some HP back, but Octozombie, it's just a bit big stick, which, to be fair, can't be removed unless they, I don't know, godify it or something, but I don't know. Probably recycle. Like, it's not good, to be honest. It's just, It's just Cyborg, but without the frenzy and the card draw. Not really worth it, to be honest. I would argue you almost always recycle it. It's just not incredible. I'm gonna put it in 50-50 because it's an event card, so if you think you don't need it, you can recycle it and you can get it back again if it runs around in an event. Probably recycle, to be honest. It's decent, but if you need scraps, this is one of your first options since this only counters heal decks, to be honest, and it doesn't even do a great job at that. 50-50, to be honest, like it's a legendary, so, you know, maybe something to think about, and at least it's cheaper than Octozombie, so maybe. Would say keep it, because if you have a big zombie, you can just play this and it will also be a big zombie, so this synergizes with anything with big stats, especially if it's something cheap like a 1-drop that you just buffed with something. So I would say keep it. It works in a lot of decks in my opinion. I don't know. I would say 50-50, not a great buff card. Honestly, you can recycle it if you want, or you can keep it. Same thing with Beampire, it's okay, but you can recycle if you want. And Whale, I would say probably recycle it since it's not great, to be honest. 50-50 too, it's like... Actually, for this one I'm gonna say keep it. Like, it's not a good card, but if you're just starting out, like, it's a fairly decent option. Like, your opponent will have to deal with it and you at least get a card. Honestly, this is another 50-50, like, it's not great, but actually I'm gonna put it in probably recycle. Like, again, it's probably 50-50, but like, I would probably say you don't really need it early on. I would say keep it, because it's not an amazing card, but if you're just starting out, you can make a little funny trick deck where you just keep conjuring with this. I think another keep, like, it's a bit expensive, and just like with the Garks, it can get removed, but if it stays on the field, at least it will do something useful, like give you a bunch of minions. I would say keep it again. It conjures stuff. If you don't have a lot of good cards, this can give you something. It's pretty alright. Honestly, for the same reason as Dog Stats, you can just leap a weaker minion and you might get lucky and get something good. Plus it draws you a card, so you don't lose that much value even if you don't get something great. This one I would say keep it as well. It's like, it has good stats for its cost, and the ability is one of the better card draw options in the game in my opinion. When I would say it's probably another keep. Like, you can just use this ability and get... Actually, well, even if you do, this card isn't that great, to be honest. I would just say 50-50 for this one. Probably recycle, like, you don't really have that many ways to get value of its ability, so it would just be a big stat guy. Always keep it. Great stats, good ability, it's pretty decent. Almost always recycle, even though it's an event card and it has this, like, it's not good. Like, even if it costs like 2k to craft, on like normally with the event cards that cost like 1k, I don't know. Also, I think you get like 500 scraps instead of normal 250 for event cards with this one, because it was one of the event cards that you originally purchased, so that's another bonus, I guess. Probably recycle, like, I would say almost always. Actually, almost always recycle. Like, bad stats for its cost and the ability is just 2 RNG. Like, any zombie could be a Zombot, but at the same time it could just be a 1-1, so Regifter Zombie, probably recycle, to be honest. Like, the ability is not that awful for its cost, but I think really the nerf, which was a couple of years ago at this point, a lot of years ago to be honest at this point, that nerf really screwed with the card, and I don't think it's that worth it anymore. You can probably recycle it. You can keep it if you want, but I would say most of the time you recycle this. 50-50, it's a pretty alright conjure card since it gives you superpowers, but actually, yeah, I would say keep it just for that. Like, it's alright, I guess. Rocket, always keep it, good removal. Teleportation Zombie, always keep it again. Useful card. 50-50, to be honest. If you have teleports, you should keep it, since you can always pull the turn 6 teleport Viking, which is pretty decent. And if you don't have them, you can probably recycle it, or, well, probably just keep it, to be honest, because even if you don't have teleports, it's one of those cards you might want to get either way, so I would say 50-50, to be honest. Probably recycle this one, it's not amazing, to be honest. Teleport, always keep this one. It's either a 1-cost cycle or a way to play a zombie on your trick turn. Amazing card. I say keep it for the same reason as Chemist. I think keep it for the same reason as sleep, to be honest.
Keep it for the same reason as AOEAUW.
Probably recycle, to be honest. Like, it's just a stat zombie and not a good one. The Untrickable is nice, but it's not incredible. 50-50, to be honest. Up to you. 50-50 too. Like, it's a good effect, but it can also just get fronted and do nothing. It's alright. You can maybe run it in any deck, to be honest. Like, if you have just a bunch of little minions with decent attack, like 2 or 3, it will do a bit of work. Maybe it could be good. 50-50, to be honest. Like, if you need the Conjure, it's one of the better ones, to be honest. Like, at least better than Cosmic Yeti, but not amazing either. Trickster, you need a lot of tricks to make this work, but I would say 50-50, to be honest, because you can just spend the resources that you get from recycling the ones up here into tricks that help the Trickster, or, well, more Tricksters. So you can build the deck if you recycle it. Of course, there are better options in my opinion, but, you know, if you want to make a trick deck, then don't recycle it. If you don't, then just recycle it, since it won't be useful anywhere else. Always recycle. Bad ability and bad stats, nothing worth it here. Final Mission is a good option, but maybe not if you don't have what you need to run with it, so up to you. Disconaut, this one is our first one that goes in full value recycle. In my opinion, this is better than almost always recycle, since you can just recycle it and craft it back if you decide that you actually want it, so full value recycle tier. Aerobics in Structure, pretty good aggro card for crazy decks in early on, since, you know, it can be very blasted, but at least it will trade, and if it doesn't get answered properly, then it will be a 4-3. Pretty good. Probably recycle. Actually, always recycle. Like, it gives you 3 minions, but 3 weak minions. There are better options. Probably, actually, it's worse than it used to be, because back in the day, this and Fireworks was always in the meta, but for some reason, people don't play it as much, so 50-50. Fruitcake, always keep this. Broken Assassin. Frankenschwar, recycle, to be honest, always. Same with Hippity Hop, probably recycle. Gark's Feast, always recycle in my opinion. Like, the only motive why you wouldn't recycle this is if you want to play it, and you're honestly not gonna get to play it unless you have the things to play around with it, so I would say just recycle it if you need something else. This guy whose name I totally remember, you need a lot of dance energy to work with it, so I would say probably recycle it if you don't have any decent dancing cards. Actually, yeah, I was thinking of putting it here, but if you have some good dancing cards, you can maybe make a Boogaloo deck work, so probably recycle tier. Zombie's Best Friend, pretty good aggro option and very cheap. Conman, same thing, cheap and good. Fireworks, honestly 50-50, because, you know, the synergy kinda fell off, to be honest. 50-50 too, like, I think it's better than some of the other cards, but like, there are better options again. Brave Robber, very good. Cheap and good stats. 50-50, to be honest. It's not terrible, but it only does something if you let it hit face. I would say keep it, like, it's decent even by itself. Not great stats for its cost, but the ability makes up for it. Unexpected Gifts, I would say 50-50. Again, if you need Conjure for some reason, like you don't have good cards in general, this is fine. This goes in almost always recycle, pretty bad card. Valkyrie, another one that goes in full value recycle. I would say do it, unless you want to play bulk decks. Black Hole, amazing environment, always keep it. Going viral, same thing. Probably recycle it, to be honest. Like, there are better environments like the ones down here. But if you need an environment, then, you know, up to you, you can keep it. Bonus Track Buckethead, probably recycle as well. I don't know, either here or here. I'm gonna put it here. Gargologist, I would say probably recycle, only works if you have Gark synergy, and the Garks you start with are not good. So, yeah. Quasar, good card. That's about it. Probably recycle, to be honest, it's just going viral but worse. Champion, I would say almost always recycle. The ability is pretty trash and it only works with sports deck, which are some of the better ones early on, but that doesn't make up for it. 50-50, to be honest. It's not terrible, I would say it's decent, but you can keep it if you want. This one's pretty good, just keep it. Probably recycle it, you can keep it if you like it, but it's not a very essential option. Stompedon, almost always recycle it, to be honest. Like, it has a good ability, but honestly they nerfed it so much that I don't know. Like, you can run it, but if you don't have the things to make it work, it will probably never even trigger the ability one, so almost always recycle it. It's one of the better Gargs, but I would still say probably recycle it. Probably recycle just because the same reason as Trickster, except Trickster is a bit better because it at least works with any trick, while this needs something to protect it. This guy, I think he's pretty underrated, but I would still put it in 50-50. I would say keep it. It's okay to deal with some of the cards that may put some of your zombies into trouble, so probably keep it. It's either here or 50-50, but I think it's more of a keep it. Yeah, honestly, almost always recycle. It's like there are better options, it's too expensive, it's just a big stat card. Turkey, almost always recycle it. Not good. The only thing it has going for it is maybe the pet synergy. Either here or here, but I would just keep it here. Night of the Living Dead, it's pretty trash, almost always recycle it. Same as Barrel Roller. And this one, Blowgun Imp. That's 3. Actually, we can make it a 4. This one is also almost always recycle, pretty bad card. And is there another one we can just throw in? Oh, perfect, Cosmic Imp. That's 50. Somewhat underrated, mostly early on, because if your opponents can't deal with it, this will literally just stay on the field and win you the game. So early on, I think it's pretty decent, 50-50 to be honest. You can remove it from your collection if you need something else, but otherwise just keep it. Warlord, you need some cards to make this work, but the thing is that this buffs every single zombie, so it will work with almost anything. Well, it won't synergize with almost anything, but it will buff anything, so probably 50-50, like you can use it or remove it, up to you. King, you need some cards to make this work, but it's just the same logic as Warlord, so again 50-50. I would say keep it mostly because early on you face a lot of little plants and this just removes all of them. I would say it's pretty bad, but you can also use it, so probably recycle tier. Gravedigger, I would say always keep it, just because you can do a lot of synergies with it, as long as you have anything with a when played effect. Same thing with Pogo, amazing card. This is a great synergy, we all know it, very good. Sharktronic, it's somewhat weak, to be honest, but also not terrible early on, so 50-50. Dr. Spacetime is a keep. It's a pretty good conjure card. It also has way too many stats for its cost, and it will probably give you a bunch of cards for free, so if you don't have many good cards in your deck, I would say just run this and it will give you something. Cowboy Imp, great card, good aggro option and good control option as well, because it just attacks for 3 in every lane if you play it properly. Same thing with this, works with itself, doesn't really need more copies to work, but if you run more copies it will buff itself, so pretty good. 50-50 to be honest, it's not terrible. If you need environments for sneaky class, that's pretty okay. Gondola, 50-50, like if this hits, it's very good and your opponent will probably have a hard time removing it, but like if it hits, it's pretty good, but again, I don't know if it will. Discard, terrible, recycle it always. Raiding Raptor, pretty good tempo option, goes in the keep up tier. Guy, probably a keep. Honestly, I think this card is great, but I would put it in 50-50 because if you don't have something to abuse its ability, then it's just like a pretty decent wall for a little bit. Swimmer, I would say almost always recycle, like it's just not good. Imp Throwing Imp, pretty decent option. If your opponent plays something on turn 1 that deals 2 damage, you are guaranteed 2 imps from this. I would say keep it, to be honest. Plank Walker, I would also say keep it. It's one of those legendaries that even though it's so expensive, you at least are guaranteed stuff from it, so probably keep it. Toxic Waste Imp, you can use this to delete anything for 2 brains, as long as your opponent doesn't stop you, and it has imp synergy, so if you have a couple of imp cards, you can make it work. 50-50 to be honest, if I put a Abracadabra here, it will have to go here. Fire Rooster, honestly not that good. I would say probably recycle it, plus it's an event card, so you know that. This card, it's one of the better cards in my opinion, mostly because it at least has Gravestone, so I would say 50-50. Probably keep it, it has good pirate synergy, plus even if you don't use it as a pirate synergy card, you can just use it as a 2-cost 4 health striker card. Zombot Stomp, probably recycle, to be honest, not a great card. Trapper, probably recycle, to be honest, not a great card. Imposter, great card. Nothing else to say, you play it, it's 2-1 that gives you another card when destroyed. It can even give you itself, so you can get 3 cards for 1. Excavator, good at removing environments, but otherwise not that good, because players early on don't have many environments, so 50-50 to be honest. Like, you can just keep it in your deck as a Gravestone 4-1 maybe, I don't know. Blind Dancer, pretty good aggro option, and even if you don't play it as an aggro option, you can play it as a control option. Pretty decent. Landscaper, honestly not that great, I would say you can recycle it if you need to. Thought Viking, same thing, honestly not amazing, you can recycle it if you need to and you don't have a pirate synergy that would need this. Actually, what pirate deck runs this? I will keep it here. Okay, and I'm looking through to see if there's something I would say you must recycle. Yeah, Lost Colosseum, I would say you probably recycle it. What else? Sure, there are some weaker cards, but they just fit into the keep tier, because even though if they're not good, they're just they're fine. Well, there are probably some here that I will miss, so it is what it is. Now let me double check if I put any cards here that would have to go in the full recycle valley, because I don't actually remember all of them, so I'm just gonna look over here. No, I think that's it. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit so you can look at the whole thing at once. Ooh, I don't think that will be possible. Is there a way to look at it differently?